Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. It is the spooky season. I thought this year I would share a couple of nightmarish or supernatural tales that I experienced when I was young. I will be honest, most of these stories are nightmares, but they still follow me in the back of my mind to this day. Just a disclaimer, I do have some parts where it can be a little bit flashy, but I will mark it down just to make it easier to avoid. There will be no blood or gore, but some of these things could be a little bit creepy to younger viewers who happen to find my channel, so watch at your own pace or with someone you trust. So, without further ado, let's begin. This happened back when I was a little kid, around 6 or 8. I was sleeping in the same room as my sister, and my bed was on the left side where you would see when you walked in, so I had a perfect view of the door where I was sleeping. It was an average night of us going to bed, sleeping, until I woke up in the middle of the night, or at first I thought I did. I hadn't thought too much about it, I was still a little drowsy. I always had a habit of waking up in the middle of the night, but I usually would fall back asleep. But as I looked towards the door, I saw something unusual. I first saw these wiggling lines outside of the door, not coming in, just moving outside the door. Until I focused on it, and I saw that they were snakes. They were wiggling around, going from one side of the door to the next, and it was very creepy. As time went on, it calmed down a bit, and they soon left. I was still creeped out, but for some reason I didn't scream. But it turns out it wasn't the end of it. As I thought it calmed down, I saw this creepy hand going to the side of the door. It was this tall little lizard creature about the size of an adult, with green scales, Medusa-like hair with the color of purplish pink. I still remember to this day what it looked like. It was very creepy. And it wasn't moving around normally. It was moving erratically up and down to the left and right of the door, and it just kept staring at me. When I thought it was about to walk in, and I woke up. Cue me going to my mom and dad's room, thinking it was the worst dream I ever had in my life. Since then, I always kept the door closed when I went to bed, even the closet door just in case. And I always would keep the light on, just in case. Back then, I didn't fully realize, but I might have had a case of sleep paralysis. And before you say anything about children can't get sleep paralysis, they actually can. The main symptoms of sleep paralysis is you can't move, you can't talk, and you start hallucinating. And I have had dreams where I was placed in my room, and I usually can move around and talk. But in this case, I couldn't do any of that. And I will say, I've had plenty of nightmares in my dream world, but this one always gets me very nervous when I look back on it, since it felt too real. This happened a few years later when I was still a young kid. At the time, we were just leaving my grandma's house. Our mom was talking to my grandma at the front door while my sister and I were downstairs at the front, and I decided to go a bit ahead since I got bored waiting. As I looked across the street, I saw a figure near the street light. This figure was a tall, thin person, and they were just standing there. And as I focused my gaze a little bit closer to see who was there, I noticed that there was no one there making the shadow. As I looked around to see what objects were making that shadow, there was nothing around except the light. The shadow kept standing there. And the more I looked at it, I got, "Hey, are you ready to go?" I was brought back out of my thoughts when my sister got my attention. As I looked back at it, it was gone. I still don't know to this day what it was. In all, I chalked it up to me getting a little spooked by the unknown around fall. At least, that's what I thought. I was in 8th grade, and it was the last trick-or-treating I was participating in on Halloween. I was dressed up as a Jedi while my sister was dressed up as well. If I remember right, it was Dipper from Gravity Falls. We were having fun, getting our candy, talking about our favorite TV shows, and we decided that the last house on the corner would be our final stop for the night before we tucked in. As we were walking, my sister got a little bit ahead of me, and I was looking at the decorated houses until... I saw a person in a hood walking down the sidewalk across the street. They were tall, thin, and were minding their own business. I couldn't see their face that well. I was looking away only for a few seconds, and when I looked back, they were completely gone. It was not like they passed the corner or crossed the road, or even someone picked them up. They were just gone. Now, you can call me a little superstitious, or call me a scaredy cat. But I kept thinking back on it, and it reminded me of the incident of what happened when I was really little. And I always wondered, what if it... This happened back when my mom, sister, and I were moving to a townhouse. At the time, my sister and I were sharing the basement as one big bedroom. To get to the basement, you had to go down a small, square, spiral staircase and walk through a door. That's where the dream started. As I turned the corner, I looked to see the lower staircase having these paper white arms sprouting out of the walls, moving in various directions. As you pass them, you can see that they were getting closer to you and all trying to grab you. When I entered the basement, I saw a young boy with skin as pale as a sheet, wearing worn-out clothes and having black hair. One of the things I remember clearly was their void eyes. I soon noticed that on the boy, holding onto his shoulder, was another one of those pale arms. Through the smoke, I saw that it was connected to a large mass. This mass had glowing eyes towering over, with multiple arms coming out of its back. One of them was holding to a small girl similar to the boy, with the same void eyes. Multiple children were also behind them, peering into my soul. It was like they were all waiting, judging, seeing straight into me. There was only one thing in my mind that was shouting in my head. Wake up! Shockingly to this day, I'm not afraid to go down to the basement, even after I moved to the second floor of the house, where my mom's office was. I think it was some nervousness about sleeping in the basement, and I also had a bunch of trouble with spiders appearing in my room at the time, and it would still creep me out. Though, I think back on that nightmare now and then, and how bizarre it was. I will be honest, this one's a little bit more of a silly one. You see, when I moved upstairs to the second floor where my mom's old office was, one of the things I noticed about the room was that it had a creaky door, and no matter what, as long as I didn't have anything holding it open, it would always make this creepy creaking noise and close by itself. Of course, I knew it was mainly because our house was on this hill thing, where at the bottom of the hill it would store water from rain and then drain it later. It was called something. I'm gonna have to look it up. I'll try to put it in if I find it. Either way, that's what happened. It would always happen since the house was on a slant. But back in high school, whom I was a very interested person in the paranormal stuff and the horror behind the scenes, I would imagine there was a tiny ghost moving the door. Not hurtful, not scary, just a little girl ghost messing with my door. It always made me smile a bit, and made me less annoyed of when I would hear that creaking door. This is the final story. Well, actually, the most technically recent. This happened a few years ago. I was asleep in my bed, and I happened to wake up. Again, I always had a habit of waking up in the middle of the night, so this was pretty normal to me. But it felt weird. I felt a tightness in my chest, and I couldn't move. I felt like my mouth was sewn shut. Everything felt weird. I couldn't really identify what was going on, and all I could do was look up at the ceiling and stare. I didn't feel really any pain. I may have thought I was just a little bit too groggy to do anything, and thought when I woke up in the morning I would feel better. So, as I laid there, trying to relax, and I was about to close my eyes... Hey! I woke up. I can't really describe what I saw, but in my peripheral vision, I saw a figure illuminated by this glowing bluish light. And in the corner of my room, I saw my mom, or what I thought was my mom, saying hey to me, trying to get my attention. At the time, I didn't fully realize what happened, and it freaked me out a bit for the rest of the night. I kept staring where that glowing figure was, not very comfortable of going back to sleep. When I saw my mom in the morning, I asked her if she came to my room in the middle of the night to say something to me. But she said no, and asked me why did I ask. Now that I'm a little bit better informed, it was clear to me that I had another sleep paralysis episode, and it creeped me out. Now, before you say anything, I think the main reason why I felt more of the symptoms now than when I was a little kid is because back when I was a little kid, I had barely any awareness what was going on with me that much, but I was still coherent. Now I actually had a little bit more awareness in my brain. And I always wondered, what would have happened if I didn't wake up when I thought my mom was saying hey to me? Well, what would have happened if that figure actually got to me? What if? Either way, that's the end of my little sleep paranormal activities. I hope you all enjoy and have a fantastic spooky month and have a spectacular Halloween. Stay safe, everyone, and happy Halloween. Bye bye.